Hello, Mayor Jeff Schielke here on Friday, August 28th, 2020. And I'm here to give the weekly report of what's happening in the city of Batavia, Illinois. And today, as I have been doing since we began this, I want to give you the update on the coronavirus in our community. I have my mask here. I take it off when I do these because I've had people tell me it's very difficult for some people to hear when you talk to them through a mask. So for the presentation, I always take the mask off and then put it back on when we're done. I wanted to let you know that 2 weeks ago, Kane County started to slip a little bit in the numbers realm as to how many actual cases of corona we were starting to see occur and what age groups they were in and whatever, so we got put in a warning status. And I'm pleased to report to you today that we've been removed from the warning status and we've kind of kept ourselves in line here. And I'll credit a lot of it to the mask issue and to social distancing. And as I've told you before, I know I have some citizens who are not at all happy about the masks. And I understand that, but we certainly as a city want to continue to encourage people to wear the mask because it does seem to be having a very positive effect. One of the things I would note is that the county has released their numbers on how many cases are out there in Kane County. And the latest numbers are there is 4,198 cases in the city of Aurora, the Kane County portion. And there's a large part of Aurora that's over in DuPage, Will, and Kendall also. So that's only a percentage of the number of people in Aurora with it. In Elgin, which is also, that's in two counties, it's in Kane and Cook. And in Elgin, they have 2,471 in the Kane County portion. In the rest of the county, there's 1,035 in Carpentersville. There's 762 in St. Charles. There's 496 in South Elgin, 346 in Geneva, and 296 in North Aurora, and 281 in Batavia. And so I'm very pleased that of all the larger cities in Kane County, we're at the bottom of the list. And we want to try to do everything we can to keep ourselves there. So I want to thank everybody for your cooperative spirit and your understanding of why we need to do this. And we would hope that people would continue to mask up and certainly watch themselves. And, if you're an asthma victim, you certainly should have your apparatus with you at all times and your medicines, and make sure that you keep that in check. And also it's probably a good idea to try to have your temperature taken with great regularity so that you can see you're not running a fever. And there are a lot of places where they're doing that. So again, I would encourage everybody to continue to keep their guard up, and let's keep Batavia out of the big numbers in the Kane County run. Today I'd like to just bring to your attention, there's going to be some federal money distributed in Kane County in the next few weeks, in the last couple of months, I guess I should say. And that comes from a grant of over what now is, thanks to some very wise investment by our county treasurer, Mr. Rickert. We have now $93 million in the bank that's going to be distributed under the direction of the Kane County Board. I have been representing the Kane County Council of Mayors at the meetings on Monday afternoons for the last, 5-6 weeks, in very long, lengthy conversations as the county board and its committee work their way through this whole process. They have decided that they're going to award up to $10 million of the federal grants that came to Kane County businesses and for not-for-profit organizations affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. And of the $10 million, $8 million is earmarked for small businesses. The county defines a small business as having no more than the equivalent of 50 full-time employees and earning a maximum of $2.5 million in gross revenues in the calendar year of 2019. Businesses must also have experienced a revenue reduction because of the pandemic. They must be open or will reopen for business as of August 1st, and they must have a physical location within Kane County to be of good standing. And as you can see, I'm reading this from the Daily Herald newspaper from on Wednesday, because they've done a good job of kind of telling the facts and outlining it. I'm certainly not reading the whole story, but I want to just include a couple more comments. The county board did exclude certain businesses from the program, they being home-based businesses, adult entertainment establishments, banks and payday or title loan lenders, marijuana sales, vaping or tobacco establishments are also included. Corporate chains are not eligible unless incorporated as an independent franchise in Kane County. Businesses formed before January 1st, 2019 can receive a grant of up to $20,000. Those formed after that date are eligible for grants of $10,000. The grants will be given on a reimbursement basis, meaning businesses must document the pandemic-related expenses. The remaining $2 million of the $10 million is being set aside for local not-for-profit organizations with similar expenses. The non-for-profits must be located in Kane County and registered as a 501c3 organization to be eligible. The grant applications are going to be due on October 2nd. The Kane County State's Attorney's Office and an outside accounting firm, which has been hired by the county, will screen applications for the appropriate criteria. The full county board will make the final decisions on the applications at its November 10th meeting. So as the mayor, I just want to encourage any Batavia business who falls within that criteria to, get on the county's website, call, or however, and get yourself an application and submit it, and hopefully some of our businesses in Batavia may get some reimbursement. Another thing I'd like to mention is the Batavia United Way, under the expert administration of Melinda Kintz, is now going to be running a silent virtual auction and raffle, which will be live on September 1st, 2020. And you can, in kind of a coming soon thing, you can go over to the front windows of Pure Eye at 12 East Wilson Street, just before you get the river. If you're going to the farmer's market tomorrow, you can just hop across the street at Wilson and River and take a look. And Melinda has set up in the windows of that building, a lot of the items that will be open for the live auction and raffle on September 1st. And so I would encourage you to, if you've got something there that you're interested in, to bid, because the money that's raised will go for the basic necessities of housing, childcare, food, transportation, and health care for those who are experiencing difficult situations because of the COVID-19 in Batavia. So another most worthwhile experience, and as I always try to do, I want to remember the Batavia Interfaith Food Pantry down at Flynn and Shumway at the south end of the Batavia Business District next to the water treatment facility. That, in my opinion, is one of the most dynamic and worthwhile organizations we have in Batavia. They do wondrous things under an excellent executive director and a much dedicated staff that comes from many of the churches of Batavia. And they provide food for many families who otherwise probably wouldn't have it. And so if anybody's looking to make a donation or whatever, that's who I would encourage you to think about doing something for, because they seriously are impacting in a positive way the lives of many of the Batavia residents. I want to just talk for a couple of minutes about, I always do it kind of the end of my thing here, this history segment thing. And this has really kind of emerged as kind of a fascinating experience for many Batavians. I have people tell me they watch this, they don't really care about my announcements as much as they want to hear my history lecture for the week. Yesterday and a couple days ago, I was talking to various people, including a good friend of mine, very good friend, who was telling me that they had memories of the quote-unquote second bridge in downtown Batavia. And the second bridge was there. If you lived here prior to about 1961, you probably have a memory of the second bridge. And the second bridge used to run under the second channel of the Fox River, which had been hand dug in 1870 from where the dam still stands up at the north end of the business district. And it diverted water from the main channel, which is the one that's still here, to this second channel, which now has been largely recaptured and put into land use, except till you get north of Houston Street, and that's the area which we call the pond there next to the Peg Bond Center and the Depot Museum, and it makes for a beautiful facility for our downtown and to have people get a very positive, relaxed view of downtown Batavia and can admire some of the history which is built along it. And now the Riverwalk's been built around it. So we use that pond with great interest and appreciation. But in 1870, this second channel was hand dug by workmen using plows pulled by horses and shovels in their backs to lower this ground level at that, so it would be a little bit lower than the Fox River that was already flowing here, and then you could divert some of the water in there. And so that's what was done. So from this came this kind of magical experience for many Batavians, and there's a lot of memories that have been created that people have about the Depot Pond and what it has meant to them in their life. As I said, one friend was telling me they fell over a rail and fell along and rolled down the side of it recently, and others have told me about people trying to push them over it as kind of a fun thing. And there was this second bridge that stood what today would be right in front of McDonald's restaurant in downtown Batavia. And so I dug into the files and I came up with some pictures of the second bridge as to how it looked. And this is a good shot of it, taken from south of the bridge. You can see the second channel, and there's a gentleman in his boat that's out in the middle of the river boating. And you're looking north in this picture, and you're looking, this is a part of what today is the City Hall building. And this picture was probably taken, near as I can tell, about 1935 or so. And this is what it looked like, and here is the second bridge that was on Wilson Street. And if you went down Wilson Street, you went across two bridges. You went across this one, and then you went across the main one of the main channel. And so this is what this looks like. So back when it was first built, this is a picture of the top of the second bridge. And you can see that there were sidewalks built on both sides of it, but the sidewalks, because you were trying to do something, and concrete and stone was a little bit hard to put into the water. They had wood sidewalks on the Wilson Street Bridge, and then when this picture was taken in the winter, there's people with horses with sleighs, and again, this is what the top of the bridge looked like. Later, the wood sidewalks were taken out and some concrete was poured, and that was where they were. But probably the most fascinating picture we have of the second bridge is this one, which shows, this is taken north of the bridge looking south toward where the pond rolled down toward. So where all these buildings are is where Walgreens drugstore would be today. But what's most interesting here is this is a picture of the Miss Batavia Steamer that was built in 1897 and used to pick up people that would come out from Chicago on the Chicago, Roar, and Elgin Railroad, which came to the building there right next to the river over on East Wilson Street, right by the bridge, and they'd get off the railroad car, many of them coming from Chicago, and they'd walk across the bridge, and they'd come down here to the north side of the bridge, and here would sit Miss Batavia Steamer, and then this would take them north up to what they called Laurelwood Park, which was put into place in 1897, and part of it is where the Oak Terrace mobile home park is, and then there's an area to the north of that called Sunnyside Park, and then where the Batavia Boat Club was, now called the Lodge, owned by the Batavia Park District. That was all part of the Laurelwood Park area, and they had a large roller coaster there. They had Ferris wheels. They had various things involving dropping you off of a parachute in a basket. There was a lot of rides and entertainment there, and it was a very popular place for people to come on company picnics. So if you came out from Chicago, you took the third rail trains out, you got off and walked across the bridge, got on Miss Batavia, and this, they tell me, could take 150 people at a time. It was not a small boat, but that's kind of an interesting part of our community history. And one that Laurelwood Park was really some park. It was, kind of a modern day Riverview, which obviously that's gone now too. But we did have that right on the east bank of the Fox River at the north end of Batavia, starting about at Gore Street, and where the East Batavia Cemetery is, right across the street from the East Side Cemetery is where this was located. And another picture of the pond shortly before it was filled in. This is prior to 1961. These are some of the buildings of the U.S. Wind Engine and Pump Company, which used to be cantilevered over the river so that they could drop wheels in the water from inside the building and run various industrial processes. And then this was all recaptured by Phil. And then in 1961, the Batavia Fire Department hosted a big Sunday burn down that they successfully burned down all the buildings to make way for what today is the shopping center where Walgreens and Riverside Pizza and Panera and the bike shop, all those folks are located in that area. Just another little colorful part of history, right next to the bridge on the west side of it was the downtown livery stable. And this is a picture of the livery stable building. It got to be in pretty much disrepair. And in 1963, the city of Batavia bought it with the intention of having a practice fire on it and burning it down and then filling in the area. So things like what did happen where now this is where McDonald's restaurant stands in downtown Batavia is where this picture was taken. And before this fire department could get around to having the drill to burn this thing down, one afternoon somebody went into it and dropped some matches, and this thing self-destructed itself in about 15 minutes. It was a very spectacular fire, but it didn't last long, and we have a picture of the fire showing what it looked like with the building fully involved and the flames coming out the window. And about the only thing the Batavia Fire Department could do was to surround some of the surrounding properties with water and keep them cooled down. Avenue Motor Sales had a bunch of cars temporarily parked right to the west of this building, and I believe in this fire they lost 19 cars, so there was some significant amount of public damage as a result of the fire, and this happened in June of 1964. And then the last picture I have is when the pond was still there, Batavia was visited by New York City-based artist John Falter, and in what apparently was about Christmas of 1957, he came into Batavia and saw this scene and did some stuff to capture it and paint it. And then Falter, along with Norman Rockwell and a couple others, were the primary contributors to the Saturday Evening Post magazine, and on January 11th, 1958, this was hot news in Batavia because Falter's painting of the Depot Pond, or what we now call the Depot Pond, was featured as the front cover. And this really was quite an honor for Batavia and its history to have this event take place, because as several people pointed, there aren't any of the surrounding towns that can boast that they've had a cover on the Saturday Evening Post. But these now are around, they've been reproduced. Fortunately, the Batavia Women's Club in 1958 was a dynamic enough organization then as they are now that they raised $500 and they contacted Falter in New York City, and for $500 he sold them the original painting. And so that's now hanging over at the Depot Museum. And this is a copy off of the actual magazine, and I bought this at an antique mall in Canandaigua, New York, because I had a dear friend Bill Wood, who was the town historian, had been looking for this because he had a lot of people wanting it, and most of the copies that were around all have a mailing label right about here on the front of it, and they're kind of spoils the picture. And so if you could ever find one that didn't have it, this would be the case. And so I found this, and so I bought it out in New York and brought it back to Batavia. And we have a lot of people, I know, as they walk around town and see stuff. One of the big businesses we have in Batavia, and it's probably more at night than in afternoons, is the ice cream business. And so, we have the creamery down here at Island and Wilson, and then we have a Baskin and Robbins out at Wilson and Wilson and Randall Road, and then we have the one other restaurant, or the name's escaping me right now. In fact, I was on the city council and we put it in. One right by the high school where you go and you get the Dairy Queen. We have the Dairy Queen. And so we have 3 restaurants, and we have lots of people go out and take boyfriends and girlfriends go, or families big time, and you see all 3 of them on the nighttime. There's been times recently in passing the Dairy Queen that I've seen the backup on Wilson Street just sitting there as far back as the high school waiting to get in. And certainly down here at Island and Wilson at the Creamery, there's many nights when people are flooding the lawn, and then they're out there looking. And a couple times I've walked through there, and I've had people say to me, "Where was that Saturday evening post cover made down here?" And some people think it's on the actual river bank that's still here now, and no, it isn't. It's on the piece that's right there by the Peg Bond Center. So if you're out for ice cream with a friend and you want to have an enjoyable moment, those are things you can do, because there are a lot of memories in Batavia that have a lot of good stuff going on. So I just want to end this by saying thanks for all your cooperative spirit in the Corona thing. Thanks for all that everybody does to keep Batavia the quality community we have. And thanks for everybody that kind of builds friendships, because if you look around our town, you see many groups gathering along the Riverwalk or out at the looms at Randall and Fabian, or over at the other restaurants that run up and down Randall Road, Apple Villa, and even the Steak and Shake. There's a lot of folks that go into those places and just get together and have friendship. And I think that's one of the secrets of Batavia, that we have a great friendship thing going here, and we all get together and communicate and hug and know each other and have great appreciations for who we are, what we are, and probably have dreams about what we want to be. So thank you again for all you do to make this town great, and I look forward to talking to you again next week.